Hi, and welcome back to Resident Resources with Ledgeview Commercial. I am Brittany Pink.
I'm Sara and
And we're going to talk today about maybe one of the scariest things that can happen to a resident. Okay, so it's like the 6th or the 7th of the month, and they get an email that says, we're serving you a demand for rent and an eviction notice. So tell me a little bit about what that means when, first off, they're going to get a notification in advance, and what happens when it's actually posted at your door. What does it mean? What can a resident expect for next steps?
Certainly. Yeah, it's a really scary thing for a resident to receive such a formal notice that says, I demand you to give me your entire month's rent or more, and you have 7 days to do so. The state of New Hampshire has an eviction requirement, right? So all eviction notices and demand for rents must be specific. There's a specific document that's used.
The language we can't change, right? So this comes from the Hillsborough County. Yeah. It's available online. And so if it's a non-payment of rent, which is what we're talking about here, you're going to get a demand for rent. And the demand for rent says this amount of money is due by this time frame based on this month's rent, whether it was, you write it's March or it's March and April, whatever the rent that's being demanded of you. And it tells you the time frame, or we call that the elimination period, of which you have to cure the demand with that amount. And then it goes hand in hand with an eviction notice. So it's saying you have been delivered a demand for rent. We are requiring that if you do not pay that amount within that same 7-day eviction notice, or sometimes it's 30 days, we will pursue an eviction. So they go hand in hand. And then there's also an extra piece right now that's been a hangover since the COVID, shutdowns and moratoriums and things like that. And that is the assistance that is available to you as a tenant and what that means. So tell us a little bit more about what the assistance. So step 1, you're going to get this, and it's going to be kind of scary. But step 2, it has information about what is available to you. So talk about that.
So some of the things that are available on the notice of demand for rent, which only happens when you don't pay your rent. This isn't a document or a process that is used for lease violations. This is just demanding that you pay the amount outstanding owed to your owner at the time. So on the second page of your demand for rent, there are information provided by the state of New Hampshire and the court districts with information on where residents can go for help. It provides information about free mediation. Mediation is a process used with the court systems to help engage a conversation that cannot be used against either party privately to discuss how to resolve, the outstanding past due rents. Sometimes there are other situations that lead into a past due balance. So that free mediation option is offered to any resident and owner that would like to sign up for it in advance to the court hearing.
Yeah.
This is again offered at the court hearing.
Yes. And then I just don't want to get to the point where we're giving legal advice, but if you were to get a demand for rent or eviction notice, right, from a tenant perspective, what would you recommend that they do? I'm going to assume it's the same thing that I would say, which is
you should reach out to your property management company.
Yay!
You should reach out to your property communication is key, really, with any outstanding fees or any concerns, questions that a resident might have about their apartment, their lease, their inability to pay per their lease terms. Reach out to your customer service representative, reach out to your property management company and have a conversation.
Yep. And then, so just because this is a scary process, if someone's not been through it, so let's say it's past the 7-day elimination period, what's going to happen? What's the next thing that happens in the process?
So when a resident has an inability to pay the demand for rent per the elimination or up until the elimination date, our next step in the process would be to file this with the courts. And so we would send the demand for rent, the eviction notice, and an affidavit of compliance that we are complying with the rules and regulations that were set up during COVID time, and present that to the court and ask them to create a case for further processing for a demand for rent payment.
And then so then the courts would send that to the sheriff, to go deliver to your door. So just like a demand for rent and an eviction notice is delivered to your door, it's either in your hand or at the place that you were last known to abide. The sheriff will do the same thing. So the sheriff will come and drop off this notice at your door.
Yes, this notice is really scary because first it's certified by a sheriff. Nobody really feels great with a person of authority walking up to your door. But this also has a lot of information for the resident. The residents are encouraged to read through the documents and respond accordingly. There is a deadline that the residents would have to respond to the courts should they like to request a hearing in front of a judge.
Awesome. And so then we get to the point where it is now residents responded. They followed all their process.
Yes.
We are at court and they still have a balance outstanding. Is the matter settled?
No, there's a few different things that can happen at court. Again, a resident who has asked for a hearing is presented with a couple different means of assistance, right? So at court, a resident is offered with information about reaching, again, mediation. There's a live person ready to help mediate any cases that are amenable to mediation. Residents are offered the opportunity to speak with someone from legal aid to understand what their tenant rights are. And then there's always an opportunity for the resident and the property management company, along with our attorney, to have a conversation about what does this look like for you? And that's probably our favorite opportunity.
Really, the protection that's in place for tenants, and I'm just going to paraphrase, is that if you're unable to pay that demand in the 7-day elimination period, it doesn't just go away. You are able to pay that amount up until the day that we are at court. So if you come to court with the amount on that demand, you have cured that demand. And then the owner's attorney, the attorney that we work with, correct. If it's like, hey, I can kind of get back on my feet if we can come to an agreement, absolutely something that the owners want to do. That's what the attorney works with us to assist and get those payment plans in place. So that's a little bit about the eviction. I would say, and maybe you would agree with this, most anything, if we start the eviction process, it's resolved within our elimination period. It's resolved with communication, and it's really rare that we escalate up to the courts.
Just based upon the timeline that it takes to get a court hearing from when a resident doesn't respond to a demand for rent, it just gives the resident that much more time to make that payment. And when communication is involved, it gives us a better opportunity to help point them in a direction that's going to get the owner their money sooner.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. I hope that helps if you're a tenant that's received an eviction notice, or if that's like the scariest thing that you can think of. I hope this video gives you a little bit more resource to understand what those forms mean, why they're in place, and just that we're really here to communicate and get you back on your feet. That's ultimately our goal. So thank you so much for tuning in to Resident Resources. I'm Brittany. We'll see you later.
Have a good day.